Hello and what is up everyone, welcome back to another video. And for today's video we're gonna have a little bit of an Underlord guide. It's not gonna be a full in-depth guide, it's more so just some quick tips for you to spam this hero and get that free MMR, everybody. So this hero right now has one of the highest win rates in all skill brackets. I believe he's above 55% in every single skill bracket. Maybe he might dip down a little bit lower in like 4K or something like that. I'm not so sure. I'm pretty sure his highest win rate actually is 4K to 5K. I don't feel like checking Dota buff right now, but you can take my word for it. If you don't believe me, go check Dota buff for yourself. And of course it does fluctuate, but anyway, let's get right into the video. So we've established that this hero has ridiculously high win rate in pubs. In pro games, especially at TI, his win rate was pretty abysmal. And I think the reason behind that is he's really strong in like unorganized, which is interesting, right? Because you think of him as a hero just because of his ultimate ability, where you want a team to coordinate around. But no, let me tell you, this ability, I mean, you can use it to coordinate with your team, but it's more so an escape route for yourself. So the reason why the hero is strong, in my opinion, is this ability right here. It was buffed slightly. Well, if you can call that slightly. I don't know what the actual numbers is, but if you look at the max HP burn damage, it was increased by like I think 0.5% or somewhere around that. So what that means pretty much is this ability does a lot of damage. Not at level 1, but once you max it out, it will clear out an entire creep wave. If it I don't think it even needs to hit on the full duration, and we'll show that right now. Free spells and vulnerable level up max. So this is level 4 Firestorm. It's really powerful, and this is what your goal is, to get level 7 to get maxed out Firestorm. This will be the ability you max first, everyone. The other abilities, Pit of Malice and Atrivora, you can kind of choose between depending on the game. Of course, Atrivora is really good against like high agi based heroes like Luna, Morphling, and things like that. Even heroes like Sven, where a lot of his damage is coming from that extra strength from his god strength. It's not so bad against. Of course, Atrivora is not very good against heroes that just rely on bonus damage. The only thing that really comes to mind is like Ursa, where he's just gonna kill you with fierce swipes anyway, reducing his damage, or base damage won't really do anything. But what I like to do in this hero is put 2 points in Atrivora. So your skill build will go as follows. As I said, you still max out Firestorm, but I actually like going level 1, either a point in Atrivora or Firestorm, depending on the game. It's a bit too complex to decide, so for you guys I would say just put Atrivora level 1 is most oftentimes the better skill point. The reason why you would ever go Firestorm level 1 is to push out the creep wave, and that's kind of a high level concept, and I think especially in 2K, 3K games, even 4K games, it won't matter. I think you're safe with going a poor man's level 1 and then leveling Atrivora. Of course, this is not very good against heroes such as Ursa and Razor, and you might consider actually leveling Firestorm level 1, because again, Atrivora does nothing against those heroes, but it will help you against like any support that's in the lane harassing you. And against heroes like Ursa as well, I recommend going Boots of Speed level 1 rather than poor man's. I still think it's worth it to go back into a Stout Shield later, just so you can tank creeps in case you want to jungle, because in often case when you're playing against an Ursa, you're going to be forced into the jungle at some point, and this hero can jungle very fast, but you do need 2 points in Firestorm, at least level 1 Firestorm. You can't really jungle with that well. You still can, but it'll take you forever, and 2 points is decent. You still have to kite the camp around and work around it a little bit, but 3 points in Firestorm, then you're jungling like a madman. So Pit of Malice is a really good ability. I think in most games you just want to leave Atrivora at level 2. You don't want to level it more than that because Pit of Malice is so good. In some cases, as I said, against Ursa, you might even want to just leave Atruor level 1, because the bonus damage that you get is nice, but the damage reduction won't matter against Ursa, and if you're not playing against heroes where the damage reduction matters, I would say just leave it at level 1. You get a little bit of extra bonus damage. It's nice and all, but Pit of Malice is where it's at. So what Pit of Malice allows you to do is to root enemies. But the thing is, they changed this ability, so when an enemy gets rooted, if they're still in the pit, so, alright, let me show you with enemy. So, free spells, hold on. So, notice Axe here. Before, it would only root once, right, guys? But now, notice if he's in the pit again after his duration ends, after a small grace period, I'm not so sure, affected every 3.6 seconds. Hold on. Let me try to get things right here. So he's able to move a little bit, but then he gets rooted again. I'm not sure what the grace period is, actually, where he's able to move around. Okay, it's 3.6 seconds, and it's the interval here. So it's 3.6 minus 1.8. So that's 1.8. So he can move around for about 1.8 seconds, and after that, he'll get rooted again. But I hope that made sense. So basically, what you want to do is just place this in a fight somewhere where enemy heroes want to walk through, and it destroys heroes, right? Because it is a root. So heroes like Storm Spirit, Ember Spirit, heroes with Blink like Anti-Mage, Quap, they're not going to be able to blink away. They're actually stuck in the pit. And the thing is, Blink Dagger also gets affected. So let's buy this Axe of Blink Dagger here. And even though he is not taking any damage, he cannot blink. His ability is not castable while rooted. That's a little bit of a tip for you guys there. So let's say a Tinker like TP's in or something, and you immediately place this pit down over the creep he's TPing into, he won't be able to blink afterwards. So he'll actually get insta rooted and he'll be stuck there for a bit. And if you do damage to him, of course we'll put the blink on cooldown and he won't be able to blink, and maybe you'll be able to catch him with a hero and kill him. So that's pretty much for Underlord's abilities. I didn't talk about his ultimate, but so the thing about this ultimate is it's not useful in most scenarios. It's kind of hard to use, I would say. It can have a really huge impact, or it can just screw your team. Remember, you can cancel it. So notice I casted the ultimate, and if you hit R again, it will cancel the ultimate. And remember that, because sometimes, let's say a fight is looking bad and you're like, oh shit, I want to relocate my team out back to base or back to a shrine or something like that, but then the fight suddenly goes your way, you want to cancel it and not relocate your team back to base, and then suddenly you're not killing anybody anymore. So remember that. It's very important that you can cancel your ultimate, and make sure you don't cancel it by accident as well, because I know sometimes you're pushing out a lane, you're getting ganked, and then you double tap R to go back to base. Shit, what the fuck? Did I just bug the ability out? What did I do? Refresh? I can't use my ultimate anymore. Oh, there we go. Anyway, if you bug the ability out, you tap it too many times and then you cancel it, that's a big problem. And you don't want to do that, so make sure that if you're double tapping, make sure you just double tap. And again, this ability actually has a decent amount of cast animation. So, and this hero has a bad turn rate as well. So, if you're gonna like try to relocate back to base or something like that, and you know you're in trouble, make sure you turn yourself first. Same thing with his abilities as well. This is kind of an advanced tip, but I'll just have to mention here for a little bit. I'll make a more in-depth guide on this later for just other heroes in general as well that have high turn rate, but I might as well mention it here. It's a nice tip that you guys might find interesting, but again, this hero has really bad turn rate. So notice when I cast his ability here, and he just cast it, and not only does he have a bad turn rate, but his cast animations are pretty long. So let me try to cast his ability all the way around. Notice he has to turn all the way around and then cast the ability. It takes a while. Same thing with Pit of Malice. Same thing with the ultimate here. So to be efficient and make sure you get your abilities off before you get stunned or anything like that, make sure you always cast ability in front of you, because it's a big AoE, right? So let's say you're running away or something and someone's going on you. Don't turn around to cast Pit, because then you're gonna have to turn back around to run, right? Like, for example, let's say this Axe chasing me. Axe is killing me. So you want to cast your Firestorm and your Pit, right? just cast it in front of you and chill like that. You don't want to turn around most of the time unless you're planning on turning the fight. And you can even cast it like directly below you like this, which is nice as well. And again, as long as you're avoiding turning around, you're fine. But because like a lot of times being able to cast ability before turning around might save your life, and same thing with ultimate. But again, depending on where you're going, you have to turn the direction. So with the ultimate, sometimes you just have to turn around, and a lot of times that's when you're gonna die and not get your ultimate off, or you're gonna die as the ultimate is cast, which is always a feels bad man moment, but it does happen. And I think that's enough for the hero's abilities. Just for the talents, I think level 10 you can go either one. If you have like a Cursed Mania or something, obviously you don't need the mana regen, so you go for the armor. At level 15, it's almost always Spell Amp. Again, this ability does so much damage now with the slight buff, or I would say actually big buff to it, and this is the main reason why this hero is strong, by the way, is just Firestorm. Firestorm, 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 and then Pit of Malice for team fights. Atriora is nice in certain scenarios, but it's whatever, right? It's really good in laning stages sometimes when you're 1v1 against a hero, and it pretty much allows you to out CS them, even though this hero has a pretty slow animation. Okay, so that's level 15. You always go Spell Amp. I'd never see a scenario where you would want move speed, unless you're going like some right-click Underlord or something mean like that, but that's just not his job, that's not his role, so I would not go move speed ever. The Spell Amp is just insane. And you notice it as well against like Roshan or just super tanky heroes, because again, it is percentage based. So even if like a hero has like 5 hearts or something like that, it's still doing a significant amount of damage. So at level 20, again, this is another talent point that you can select between cast range or attack speed. Attack speed, I would go when, let's say, I want to push real fast. My hero is the building hitter, or one of the building hitters of the game. And I just need that extra attack speed. It synergizes really well with the Atriora and like Assault Curse or something like that. And that's when I would go attack speed. But when my hero is played more so as a supporting role, I'm staying more in the back, I'm not really hitting the tower unless the enemy heroes are dead, I would go for the cast range. The reason why you go cast range is this hero really loves to buy items such as Force Staff. This is common pickup against heroes like Ursa, Sven, any hero that can be cut easily, Lifestealer as well, and even Lotus Orb. And having this extra cast range is pretty big. I can't cast it on Creep GG. But you can see the cast range here, and you can see the cast range of Force Staff. It definitely can turn around a fight, and in addition, of course, it will increase the cast range of your abilities. And when you're playing the backline, you want to be able to cast as far away as possible, so you're not super tanky, because this hero can range from super tanky to kind of squishy and playing more of a support position. It really just depends on the enemy's heroes and what type of farm you have, because you're not going to be able to get farm in every single game. And at level 25, the talent I would choose is mostly Malice Root. In very certain scenarios where you're actually a tank and you're frontlining, again, go for the health regen. And I think the talents kind of split pretty well. I just noticed that, but it seems like most of the talents on the right side are for like fighting or tanking, frontlining, and you're getting right in the middle of the fight. And this is something that hero can do, and I think a lot of times in lower MMR brackets, it's kind of what he will do most of the game. So I'd say if you're actually like 2k, 3k, I would just go for the right talents. Maybe I would keep the Spell Amp because that's way too good. I don't think the movement speed is really that worth it. I mean, if you want to, go for it, but the Spell Amp is just really good. It synergizes with Firestorm really well, and I mean, it's the only ability that does amp from this talent, but it's just a really strong ability, and I would not forgo it for 40 move speed. 40 move speed for what? And so at level 25, normally I would go Pit, but again, if you're actually in the front lines, go for health regen. So now for item builds for him, again, I already pointed out these items. This is more of a supporting build, but let's say if you're in lower MMR brackets, you probably want to carry the game and be unkillable. In that scenario, I would suggest items like Vanguard. It's really good as a starting item for him. There you go. I think if you don't go for poor man's, right, I would go for Vanguard. So the starting item build for if you want to rush Vanguard would probably look something like this. Sell everything so we don't get confused. So normally I go poor man's, but this doesn't look half bad either. Just the starting items, because this allows you to get a wand. Pretty clutch item on him because he does run into mana problems. I think mana boots is a necessity for him, pretty much, or a soul ring as well. So you can even start with like a mango or something like that and go for a soul ring. It's not something I do personally, but I do think that it is viable. And again, something like this is not bad. You can go for a soul ring with the mango and transition into a Vanguard and boots. This doesn't look half bad for like a carry Underlord build. And again, with the skill build, you want to max out Firestorm. With this build, I would suggest going 2 points in Attribute Aura and then maxing out Pit afterwards. Again, 2 points is kind of enough for Attribute Aura. Sometimes maybe you want 3, but again, you kind of evenly want to go through Pit and Attribute Aura because again, this ability is really good and you don't want to skip it entirely. A long time ago, Underlords will go like 404, where they just max out Attribute Aura, but that was a different Attribute Aura and that was a different Pit of Malice. Pit of Malice is a lot better now, and Attribute Aura is a lot worse. So I suggest definitely skilling up Pit of Malice, and this is what I feel like a lot of Underlords do wrong, is just not leveling this ability early enough. Again, don't forgo Firestorm to level Pit, but at any opportunity where you feel like, I don't really need Attribute Aura any higher than this, and normally the max is either 2, that's where I would usually keep it at. I never skill it past 2 without putting a point in Pit of Malice, or at least 2 points in Pit of Malice. Sometimes I go for 4, 2, 2. And same thing with ultimate. Sometimes you can skip your ultimate as well if you don't feel like you need it, or it doesn't really help you at all in lane because you're dominating and you're not going to need that save. Just skip your ultimate, maybe level it later at level 8, 9. You don't need to level it at level 6 every single game unless you're having a pretty rough lane and you want to have a lot of trips back to base, so you can just use the Dark Rift and TV back into the lane. Anyway, as for early starting build, I would say the Vanguard is nice if you're trying to carry, but again, if you're not trying to carry, go for a mech and mana boots. What the fuck? What the mech? Mech? Alright, anyway. It was weird. The mech didn't build all the way, but this is normally the supporting item build. You go for mech, and I wouldn't rush Greaves right away unless there's a real reason to, like there's a silence or something on the enemy team. Pipe is really good. Force Staff's really good in this item build. And after this, you're usually done. At this point, you're running down lanes and potentially end the game. But again, this is a build where you're kind of reliant on your team to kind of like 5-man and fight. Otherwise, you don't get much use out of it, right? Mech's not going to do anything for you. Pipe's not going to do anything for you in terms of increasing your farm, increasing the strength of your hero. It's more team-based, and I only go this if I know that my team can 5-man and just end the game. Or if not end the game, take out a lot of objectives and control the map. But if that's not the case, fuck these items and go for Vanguard after that. Things like Shiva's Guard is good, Radiance is good as well on this hero. You go for Radiance. I mean, it's kind of greedy, but if you can get away with it, I mean, I would build it. Again, this hero farms really fast. Firestorm is a really strong ability. It allows you to farm the wave without actually being there, and that's a big deal. It's kind of like an acid spray on steroids. And of course, Radiance does synergize pretty well with your Attribute Aura as well. And again, I would not buy the mana boots if this was my build. So Soul Ring, I would go for something like a Boots of Travel. But again, this is more of a carry build, and you can really only get away with this at lower MMRs because this is way too greedy, and you're taking a lot of gold off the map from your teammates going for an item build like this. And I mean, I would say in 2K, this item build is probably OP. I can't really confirm that, but I mean, it's really strong. So what you want to do with this item build is you go for these 3 items and you're pretty much a fucking super farmer, and you're just running down lanes and enemy will just chase you around. And as long as you have a good idea and good map awareness, you'll be able to just avoid them anytime they come, because you'll have Dark Rift and you'll get the fuck out. You don't even have Dark Rift to base, right? You can Dark Rift another creep wave, but I really can't do that because we're in demo mode. and then you have boots travel to bring yourself around as well, and you just run around the map pushing out creep waves and make sure you're safe while doing it, right? Again, your hero's really tanky, so unless they gank you a lot of heroes and they're not or they're super coordinator or something like that, or they're just a super farm hero on the enemy team, they're not gonna be able to kill you. And even if they do kill you, you just drop pit, you do all this stuff, you get the mischance from the radiance, and you're pretty hard to kill. Normally you can split push pretty safely and you'll win the game just off of split pushing, getting super farmed and carrying the game like that. And in this scenario, I'd probably go for all the right abilities or the right talents, except for the spell amp. Especially if you go Radiance, I don't think the 40 movement speed is ever worth it, and you could experiment it with it if you want, but I wouldn't ever level it personally. And I mean, that's pretty much it for the hero. Of course, you can build other things like any of these these are more of the support items, but any carry item, I'll go more into that later because I don't really play carry Underlord, but I feel like it's why he's really strong in the lower brackets. It's weird, the hero is strong in the higher brackets because he buys these items and 5-mans, but in lower brackets, you go Radiance and you split push and you win the game like that. So there's a bit of a disconnect there, and it's hard to make a guide covering both sufficiently, but I hope I got the gist of things. And I'll hop into replay real quick to show you how to kind of play the laning stage. It won't really apply at lower MMR because, again, people will make a lot more mistakes, but it does apply somewhat, especially in the early stages. So I'll hop into one of my replays real quick. I believe this is like a 6k average or something like that. But I just like to talk about some things that having the lane in view will help you out. So let's hop right into the replay here, and let's hope this video doesn't get too much longer because it's already 20 minutes and I want to make this video last forever. Anyway, what's going on here? Player perspective. Oh, there we go. So notice my skill build this game. I went for, or item build, I mean. I went for poor mans and tangos. Again, this is pretty safe. I would say you can go this build like almost every single game and be okay, except for certain matchups like Ursa and Razor. And in those scenarios, the lane is kind of lost anyway, so I wouldn't even think this is that bad because a lot of times you're going to have to jungle, and poor man's shield does help you with that. But if for some reason you really want to lane against those heroes, or you really want have to lane, otherwise the supports can just roam and like gank you in the jungle or gank your mid lane. And that scenario, I did die there, GG. In that scenario, I would go for the poor man's anyway against Ursa and Razor. But, I mean, what was I saying? I would go for boots, I mean. So, you can actually lane, because with this, it's not gonna, poor man is gonna do absolutely nothing. So there, notice how I approached the lane there. I traded with the support. That's something normally you want to do. I ended up dying for it, kind of close death. I would say I barely got out of that one. It was a nice block from the Spirit Breaker, so I ended up going down. But again, the creep wave is pushing in my favor, so I'm actually not too sad about that death. I mean, it gave the Spirit Breaker some gold, which is bad, but other than that, I mean, I got a lot out of the lane still, and now I'm almost, or a little bit less than halfway to level 3. Again, Silencer is a pretty decent hero against Underlord, as he hits for pure damage, so the poor man is not going to do much for you, and Ashura will lower his damage a little bit, but again, it doesn't do much because level 1 Ashura has been nerfed significantly, so it's only 7%. That's why I do say put 2 points in it, because look at the difference between level 1 and level 2. It's 7% to 18%. Alright, so this is normally how you would approach the laning stage. Again, the enemy supports are doing a good job of zoning me, so I'll be forced to jungle, and this is where poor man's shield comes into handy. And notice level 1 Firestorm is pretty sad at farming this camp. Again, I'll probably have to walk back to base after this, but I'm just getting as much as I can. Again, this hero is an off-lane hero. I don't think I mentioned that at the start, but most of the time you will be sending him off-lane. If for some reason you're mid or carry or something like that, which I don't think is his best position, the thing is, he can get so much out of the off-lane. Look like I'm having a bad time right now, but trust me, it picks up. His weakest levels are level 1 and level 2. Level 1, I mean, he really has a really weak Firestorm, or he can have a really weak Atriora. He doesn't do much. And level 2, he has a really weak Firestorm and a really weak Atriora. But once he gets his levels up, this hero is really level dependent in the offlane, and if the enemy team messes up or they like push the lane into your tower and you suddenly get like 2 waves, 3 waves, you're golden. You get to a certain point and you actually can stop the enemy team from doing anything against you because you push out the lane so fast. The thing about Dota is if you push the lane into the enemy team, it lowers their option because they have to hit the creeps, right? I mean, they don't have to, but it's not a good idea to not kill the creeps. Like, for example, let's say I push the lane into the Sven and he has like a creep wave, 2 creep waves on top of him. He doesn't want to fight me because I'll win the fight. And in addition to that, if he for some reason tries to fight and dies, he's going to miss out on an entire creep wave. So notice what I'm doing right now. I'm just trying to hide. I know the creep wave's pushing towards me. I don't want it to push too hard, so I drop down a Firestorm. But all I'm trying to do in this lane right now is I don't really care about farm too much. And there's some games where you will be able to farm if the enemy supports are roaming or doing something weird. But in this game, all I'm trying to do is get my levels up. And again, notice my skill build now. I went for 1 point in Firestorm, 2 points in Atriora because the second point is really value, and after that I will go back to max out Firestorm. And one really good thing about this hero as well, if the enemy team ever tries to go for the side pull or anything like that, if they don't sufficiently zone you out, you can just come in, drop a Firestorm. If it's a high level Firestorm, you actually will most likely clear the camp out, and he's basically insanely good at punishing the enemy hero's mistakes. I think he's really bad if the enemy responds to him properly. If they pick a good matchup such as an Ursa or anything like that, some certain heroes like Slark can be good against him as well with a decent level advantage, which the supports can secure if they know what they're doing. But the thing about this hero in pubs is enemy supports usually don't know what they're doing. They're going to mess up, and when they mess up, this hero punishes them badly. It's kind of similar to the Abaddon in the past. Abaddon has been nerfed, he's fallen off and he's not too useful anymore, and Underlord, I would say, has taken over that role where if enemy supports mess up, he will punish and he will get farmed, he'll get pretty much unkillable, and he'll just run down lanes. So that's all you're looking for when you're playing Underlord in the offlane. You want to try to punish the enemy's mistakes. Anytime you can get experience and realize when you're strong. And I'll tell you exactly when you're strong, and it's when you have 3 points in Firestorm or 4 points in Firestorm. And at that point, you can just push out the waves. The enemy carries, if they don't have the ability to push out the lane, I mean, Sven is a hero that can, but even he can't push the lane out as fast as you can, because again, he can't actively push the lane while the Firestorm is in effect, because he'll take too much damage. So he kind of just has to wait until the Firestorm ends, which will mean that creep wave is already pushing in towards him. Heroes that can deal with it kind of well are like Anti-Mage, where they can cut the creep wave and work around the Firestorm, and they just have fast basic attack time in general. I mean, Sven, if he plays the lane properly, can do it as well, but he just isn't as mobile. Anti-Mage has a blink, so he can kind of cut the creep wave, blink on you, harass you, also burn your mana, which is important. But for a Sven, he's kind of immobile, and the Firestorm gets on top of him and he'll take too much damage from it. Anti-Mage, of course, can just blink away. But just wait until you're level 5, right? You'll have 3 points in Firestorm, and once that's the case, just push out the wave constantly. And notice what's happening to the Sven right now. He's actually getting zoned out of the lane because I'm dropping Firestorm. And you want to buy some type of mana regen to sustain your Firestorm spam, unless it's either Soul Ring or a Mana Boots, pretty much. Those are the 2 items you want to go for. Magic Wand or Raindrops isn't bad either. At this game, I just decided to stick with a Magic Stick. I think Quelling Blade is really good on this hero. Not only does it increase your last hitting potential, which is already super high, it makes it pretty much, if you're 1v1 against any hero, they're not going to be able to last hit against you, which is nice. And it also allows you to jungle a lot faster if it ever comes to that. But the big thing about Quelling Blade is it allows you to cut some small paths in the trees, and you can notice I'm doing it a little bit here and there. And with that, you can kind of juke around and just get your Firestorm off while hiding in fog. And that's really important during the nighttime, where enemies don't really have that great of vision, and it pretty much means that you can hide in the trees and get your firestorm off, just push the wave in, annoy the heck out of the carry, and if you ever get in trouble, just ultimate out or TP out. And it's a really big deal, and I think it can just straight up win you the game. I don't think it matters too much when you're already dominating, but when you're having a rough time or enemy does have kill potential on you, you really want to be able to kind of hide yourself while still being able to apply pressure. And I think that's all I'm gonna have to say about the laning stage. I'll make more videos on this hero if he doesn't get nerfed, depending when the patch comes. But I think this is all you guys really need to know to understand the hero enough. I mean, of course, play him a couple times, maybe in unranked or something like that if you're really unfamiliar, because he's kind of a wonky hero, has a weird turn rate, his abilities have long cast animation, so you want to be comfortable with the hero at least. But after that, it's easy MMR for everyone, guys. Just spam Firestorm, Pit of Malice in later game team fights, and you're golden. Item builds, I already told you. Again, you can kind of experiment with your own in terms of carry item builds. I think a lot of these items are good on him because he can get them up really fast, but Shiva's Guard, Radiance, Assault, Curious, things like that, I wouldn't go for a straight carry build. That's not really his role. So in terms of that, by carry build, I mean like right clicking. Oftentimes, I mean, he has pretty bad attack speed until he gets like level 20 and you go to like attack speed talent, or you buy Assault Curious, something like that, or Mask of Madness. I've even seen some people do, but that's just not his role. I mean, you want to be able to be annoying in the fight. Radiance, I think, is good, and you can just stand in the fight, do a ton of damage. When it does come to a point where you are right-clicking someone, you'll right-click for a lot of damage, and that's pretty much the hero. And notice how strong I am right now with level 4 Firestorm. I'm going to be able to push the wave, and notice where the Sven is. He's done with his lane. He's in the jungle. I guess he's here now, but I mean, he's not having a fun time. Notice that. So once you get to this point, you're golden on the hero. If you survived the early game, you got to level 7, and it's really dependent on the enemy support's mistakes. If they mess up a lot and they give you a lot of experience, you're going to get to this point faster. And the faster you get to this point, the more you're going to be able to dominate the lane. And it gets to the point where even 2 supports can't kill you anymore because you'll just drop the Firestorm and man up. Just man up, and they'll die. And unfortunately, the Sven kills my Rick here, but I believe I do kill him. But the video has gone on for long enough. I'll see you guys in the next one. Hope you guys enjoyed watching this little bit of a guide on Underlord. Again, this is not meant to be that in-depth of a guide. It's more so, I would say, similar to a coaching session where if I were to sit someone down and talk to them about Underlord, this is what I would talk to them about. I'll probably make some more formatted guides in the future, but I mean, I like this format right now. It's chill. I can make it easily, and it'll allow me to upload every single day. So it's quality over quantity at this point, and I'm more leaning on quantity because that's the best way to grow my channel. But there'll probably be more quality content in the future, especially once I start working with Pugna and things like that and reaching out. But anyway, this is going to be the content for now. I mean, it's chill. I would watch it if I was 2K, 6K player wanted to talk to me about Underlord. I would listen. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed, and peace out. See you in the next one.